Greetings, brothers and sisters. I think one of my viewers sent me this. I'm not sure how I found this. It's been on my toolbar for a couple of days, but this is a woman who has her own show on MSNBC, and she gave sort of, an admission here.
The trust in media, newspapers, and television is, hitting an all-time low.
Katy Tur.
People don't trust us. They don't believe us, and it makes me wonder if this job, as I'm currently doing it, is effective, but if it's doing more harm than good.
It's definitely doing more harm than good. And you're reading lies, right? You're subscribing to a binary system, and Fox is too. Like Fox is pointing this out, but Fox is doing the same thing. You have a very limited bandwidth of reality that's based in corporate influence and money power and political influence and media influence, and the truth isn't to be told, right? I don't know if there's any good that can be done, right, by media or anybody else. Even what I do here, certainly directing people to a more spiritual life and connecting to God within is something I believe that is helpful and is a solution if people embrace it. But even that, in terms of saving society, no, there's no saving it. And why should it be saved? Like why, what's the case for this society being saved other than we're all addicted to it and we can't live without it? That's the only argument. It's the too big to fail argument, right? We're all dependent on a system, and no matter how bad it is, we can't live without it, most of us. So let's, hope that it's saved, regardless if it's making us better people, regardless if it's hurting us and hurting the planet and hurting other species and taking us in the wrong direction and is demonic. I have a whole thing to say. I was going to say it in the beginning here. I have a whole new way of expressing how this system is demonic, but I'll do that at the end. But let's go to Dana Carvey here. Okay, so Dana Carvey, who I used to think was, at least somewhat funny, one of the better Saturday Night Live cast members. His comedy hasn't aged well, and of course he's a shill. So here's this.
The next race for the White House is shaping up. Donald Trump claims he's already made up his mind about 2024, and he's still trying to figure out when he's going to announce his official decision. Trump says he's very confident that he'd win and that people would want him to run. I'm going to do these next few jokes as Johnny Carson.
Okay, so that's a problem right there. See, I didn't watch Johnny Carson. Like, I watched him a little bit, but I didn't find him funny, right? He was of my dad's generation. And so I'm in my, 57, did I say? What am I? Somewhere. I'm in my, I'm pushing 60, right? Which is kind of hard to believe. I don't feel 60, but, it's happening. But anyways, if I'm not aware of Johnny Carson, like Johnny Carson wasn't, he was it jumped the shark when I was a kid, kind of, right? And so if he's doing Johnny Carson here, he's doing it for 60 plus people. This is a comedian who's imitating somebody who really you have to be over 60. You can be, in your 50s as well, but, it's not a reference that interests any of us, right? And so that just in itself, that sucks. Like, it's not funny because the majority of people, especially the desired demographics, don't understand who Johnny Carson is.
Yeah, vast majority of Americans want Donald Trump to run head first into oncoming traffic.
That's not funny either.
Hey, yeah. Of course, no one is begging Donald Trump to run more than his cardiologist.
See, just and these are Johnny Carson jokes. These are the kind of jokes Johnny Carson would make. And that's why people weren't watching him, and he faded away because it's an older generation. Most of the people who watch Johnny Carson are dead. most of the Johnny Carson fans are dead. Or they're, Joe Biden's age, right? They're in their late 70s.
Trump has all the best doctors. He just went in for his checkup at the Mayo Clinic, not the hospital. It's a mayonnaise shop in Rancho Cucamonga.
And so Dana Carvey is Johnny Carson. He's become Johnny Carson because the people he imitates and his humor is like so 1980s or 1990s or whatever. 90s. And so, he's jumped the shark 20 years ago.
I haven't seen someone this drunk with power since I went for cocktails with Zsa Zsa Gabor at the Tonga Hut.
How many young people know who Zsa Zsa Gabor is? These are people I considered old. Zsa Zsa Gabor and Johnny Carson from a different era, right? They were like, not the next generation. Like, I'm Generation X. Zsa Zsa Gabor and Johnny Carson weren't boomers, right? So the boomer generation looked at Johnny Carson, because they were liberal hippies, as being part of like the old guard, right? So like he's, 3 generations removed from mine.
Only 7 more. Here we go. And Melania heard Trump might be running. She booked a one-way ticket on Air Force Done.
Okay, so Dana Carvey sucks, right? He did some sort of imitation the other day. I don't know, some sort of imitation off between Trump and Biden. I didn't, he sucks. So Khloe Kardashian, with the E and the apostrophe, also known as the big one to some people. Some obnoxious people refer to her as the big one because she's bigger than her sisters. Somebody left me a comment saying, about the OJ thing, that OJ's her dad. And, I guess that's possible, but she's very light-skinned, right? Like OJ Simpson was sort of light-skinned, but Kris Kardashian is, darker skin. Like, what are they, Armenian or something like that, right? And so they're not real, they're not very white people. They're, they're tanner people, right? They come from, there's various shades of white people. I have a tan now because I'm part Italian. I've been outside. Been working on my tan. And so I would think if she was OJ's daughter, she would have a darker complexion. But, who knows? She certainly is, big enough to be his daughter. Khloe Kardashian posts about always having truths back ahead of her son's birth. Me and my best girl making the best memories. I will forever have your back, my angel. Well, she's your daughter, right? That's how those Kardashians roll. They always have their daughters' backs forever. Forever, ever. And so that's the big one. Steven Spielberg directs first music video for Marcus Mumford's Cannibal. I saw the video. This is Mumford and Sons. There's no cannibal activity in it. But Steven Spielberg, when he heard the word cannibal, said, hey, I'll direct that. Right? I did that. I put this in there for that joke. Alicia Silverstone says she and son Bear 11 still sleep together. I think she said something else. I think I might have mentioned her in another video. But let's see what it says here.
You have, since Bear was little, have had a lot of alternative ways of raising him that maybe the broader society kind of looked at, like, what are you doing? And I even have seen like an article. It's like all the things that Alicia Silverstone does that are terrible, that are so not status quo.
I just do what's I'm a natural mama, and
She's a natural mama. She just does what's natural to her. She's a natural mama.
a loving mama.
Mm-hmm.
She's loving. She's very loving.
And I believe in love.
She believes in love, not like the rest of the moms. The rest of the moms are too busy getting drunk.
We're so drawn as mothers to alcohol.
And I believe in nature.
She believes in nature and love.
And our society is scared of nature and scared of love.
Exactly. They're scared of love and nature.
My son's dad, he and I did it together. And because he goes, I love pigs too.
They did it together and they produced a kid. So then there's this.
There was a few things. I had a dog that I fell in love with, Samson. And he would sleep with me. We basically made out. He was like my boyfriend.
She has a boyfriend that's a dog. See, she believes in love and nature. That's how she rolls. This is a long interview. It's mostly about being a vegan. I think it's a vegan channel, but it's for an hour and 9 minutes long. And who would make videos so long? Why would people make videos so long? It's an hour long. I can't believe somebody would be.
One thing. Then there's all these other cultures and all these other people that do it. The things I'm doing, I'm not inventing. I didn't invent any of it.
You would think
I would love to take credit for all of it, but it's not me. Unfortunately, it's just me following nature.
Yeah.
And sleeping with your children. I mean, if you were in any kind of wild setting where there are animals, if you put your baby.
Exactly, there are animals out there. There's a dog out there that used to be her boyfriend. There's animals out there.
Be over there, your baby's going to get eaten. So it's not ideal for the baby to be over there.
That's how I thought too. Like back when I was first gonna have Elvis, like the topic.
Elvis, it's Elvis's mom. I know it's Elvis's mom.
Co-sleeping or crib and everything like that. I'm like, but if I was sleeping outside in a tent, I wouldn't put him in a separate tent.
No,
no way.
No.
Exactly. It's just like they're sleeping in a tent all the time.
And their little bodies are designed to have milk they need that milk every.
They need the milk. You know who else needs milk? You know who else provides milk for his family?
That I supplied milk to my family?
2 hours when they're building up and when their bellies are so tiny, and it actually makes you sleep so much better. I remember when I first had Bear.
So when she first had Bear, she has Elvis. The thing about it is family beds are, the old style of family bed when kids are little, sure. But he's 11, right? Like at what point is it just, kids getting into the pubic years, right? And he's still sleeping with his mom.
But I just think it's delicious. I think being a mom is the most precious, most unbelievable.
It's delicious. Sleeping with your kid and breastfeeding is delicious.
Experience in this world, and it's not for everyone, and anybody who doesn't want to do it shouldn't do it. But for me, it's so divine. And I wanted to savor every moment of his life, and that's why I wanted to have more, but then my relationship got messed up, and then it was not a great time to bring one in. But I didn't.
You didn't have. She just had the one.
Want to have one right away because I was so in love with my Bear. I wanted to squeeze every little moment out of him.
I know.
So what?
Well, that's not healthy, right? It sounds like you're feeding off of him. You want to squeeze every moment out of her infant child.
And but my point is that nurturing this little monkey and having him.
Wait, is he a monkey? Is he a bear? Is he a dog? What kind of animals are you raising here? You had a boyfriend that's a dog. You name your kid Bear, and you're calling him a monkey.
I just wanted to do what was healthiest for him at every turn. And so every choice I make is either built on instinct or deep research. It's not like...
Deep research. She does the deep research. Not like people in the truth community that do research. Some people just do deep, deep, deep research. She says she believes in love and nature, but then she says... And again, I don't really have much of a problem with her. I mock because I mock. And it's weird that she sleeps with her 11-year-old boy, but, she's at least trying to be a good mom, whatever. Which is, in Hollywood's a rarity. But she said she did, she believes in love and nature. And then she said, she said that she, everything that she does comes from other people, ancient cultures, and she does deep, deep research, right? And so what is it, right? Is it stuff other people thought of, or is it your intuition, and your own, relationship with God and nature? But again, the one weird thing is her sleeping with her kid. when he's, 11 years old. So this is a picture of her son Bear, right? Like, he's a big kid. And again, like family beds, and I mean, there's, a crib is a cage. I did videos about this a long time ago. Cribs are cages for babies, right? They're little jail cells. And, human beings are social animals. But there's a certain age where it's no longer appropriate, especially in something like this with a mom to sleep with her son. I mean, just for the adult to sleep with, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids, it's just, once they pass that threshold, when they're like 6, 7, 8 years old, it's time for them to move out on their own, right? Like, it just, I mean, they've moved to the next stage of their existence. But anyways, I mean, the big scope of things, things are so weird now with Hollywood and celebrities, right? This is barely makes the, is just a blip on the radar. Okay, so I want to talk about demonic, the way I see society being demonic, like not how you would define it as like most Christians. Of course, people are different. Christians are all different in their ability to conceptualize things. So it's not like it's just, like every Christian thinks of the word demonic the same way or whatever it is, right? But I was watching, I watched the Spider-Man, the most recent Spider-Man movie with the multiverse, and the Doctor Strange movie with the multiverse. My wife and I have been watching that show Fringe because somebody sent me a clip, and we watched the clip. And Fringe is kind of an interesting show. There could be better in some ways, but it's pretty good. And they were dealing with a multiverse situation there. And then there was a show, I forget the name of it. It was on like Showtime or something, and it got canceled after its second season. But this doorway was open to another, world, and the other people were with another universe, and the people were going back and forth and pretending to be the other person, the other universe. It's kind of interesting. So it's something that I think about. It's not really talked about much in Heartfulness. I don't know if there is actually some other reality where there's, more me's and more you's out there, and some other reality. But I guess it's, it's an interesting thing to think about. But one of the things about the movies is that Marvel really sucks now. Like, they've pushed so much of this Hollywood agenda into their shows and their movies, and it's not just that I dislike the agenda, it's that it's wrong, right? It's not like, all right, some personal preference. There are things that are being pushed societally that are just out and out wrong. And they're not wrong because I say they're wrong. They're not wrong because my belief system or what I believe to be, the way it is wrong. They're wrong because they go against divine laws and rules that aren't mine, right? And there is a natural order to things. There is a divine system. And all of us at one time or another in our life get mad at God. Something dies or somebody dies and we get mad at God. Why is there death? Somebody suffers or we suffer and we get mad at God because why are we suffering? All of us do that. The greatest saint in the world, the highest developed spiritual person, at some time in their life, they're like, God, you're screwing things up. Why are you screwing things up so bad? Why do you suck so bad, God? Why do you let these things happen, God? Right? These are the kind of things people say. But, in terms of the heartfulness definition of God, how heartfulness sees God is a more mature and abstract way of seeing God. That God doesn't have an ego. God doesn't have an individual personality. God isn't some, sitting on some throne somewhere, disconnected from everything and everybody else. God doesn't think. God doesn't think like we do. God doesn't, judge things. God just has a natural response. Love responds naturally. And there is an automatic system of checks and balances and contingencies to everything in the universe. And God is constantly having to deal with freedom of choice. And freedom of choice in human beings is the freedom to choose to do what's wrong. And that's where we are, we have more flexibility than God, because God can't choose to do the wrong thing. God can't, do something that is, make a mistake. And so God can only be right. And so therefore it can't have an ego, can't be separate, can't have any of these things. Because, when you think, you reason, you feel, you emote, you make the wrong choices at points, right? You get attracted to something that's bad for you. We're constantly doing things that are bad for us. We're making the wrong choice. And, the universe then has to clean up that mess when we make the wrong choice. And when collectively everyone's going in the wrong direction, then there needs to be, all these consequences, and, things need to kick in to correct those wrong choices and to fix the damage, right? And so that's what's happening all the time. And oftentimes the wrong choices done by other people are things that we, are blaming on God, or choices that we've made that we end up blaming on God. But when you as a society, and this is what I mean by being demonic, say, no, things would be better if things were like this way. And the Hollywood morality that's been rolled out is demonic because of that. Because it goes against the natural order of things. It's elitist, it's pretentious, it's superficial, and it's demonic as F, right? These Hollywood celebrities, the media, the politicians, these wealthy people, they think that they're somehow above these rules and they know better than God. And like I said, everybody does that from time to time. But when your society just starts changing the natural order of things, there's a designed order, including the binary system, the reproductive system, a man and a woman coming together to have a baby, right? That is a divine system, right? Master Babaji, the second master of the heartfulness system, said, God is not a fool to make two sexes when one would have sufficed. And what he meant by that is, was to do with celibacy. A lot of religious and spiritual organizations practice celibacy. And so he was saying that, it's natural to have children. It's natural to come together. It's a binary system. There are some, creatures like amoebas that don't need a binary partner, a binary, the opposite sex, so to speak. But you have these things that are designed by God and nature. And when you start, saying that, well, this isn't correct, or this isn't the way it's supposed to be, and like we know better as a society, and that's what our society is doing, then you've gone into a demonic level of existence. And that's been the way the debt-based economy is demonic, because you're creating something that has value before it has value. Like as a promise, you're making money out of a promise, currency out of a promise. It doesn't have any real value, right? If it was gold, if it was commodity, sure, it would have value. But this doesn't have value. And so that's why our system goes the way it does, our economic system. And then to keep up with the debt-based economic system and the interest that's accrued, there needs to be constant economic growth. And so then we have to become completely one-sided, completely materialistic, and that's just another level of that, right? That the system, to survive, because it's demonic, needs you to ignore your spiritual side and just become a constant consumer. And so then there's another level of being demonic, where you become a consumer, where you're, now you're a hoarder as well. You're taking more than you need. And so now you're a polluter. So that's another level of being demonic. And you're also extracting too much resources as a society from the environment. So you're killing other species. You're taking away natural habitats and then turning it into garbage and wrecking the planet, right? And so all these things are demonic, and they end up going in a self-destructive and an earthly destructive way, right? Because you're not following and adhering to the divine principles. And they're not my principles. They're things that everybody knows about deep inside themselves, and your heart knows about it. And so you have to shut off your heart, because, that's one of the things about the heartfulness meditation. And it should, like I'm struggling with the organization right now, but if somebody's doing it correctly, their heart should be bothered with what they're doing. Their heart should feel like, oh, this is incorrect, right? This is wrong. And then you correct yourself. And so, you have to have a conscience, you have to have empathy. And so all these things are demonic. And these people that are just making things up, like this idea of abortion not being murder, right? Like if murder is killing a human being, well, isn't a fetus a human being, right? And so like all these levels of being demonic is when you are in denial, like you're trying to rearrange reality to fit your feelings, right? Changing the facts to fit your feelings. And that's what our society does. No, we don't have to obey that rule. We don't have, we're beyond that. Oh, there is no God. Okay. Well, then, what is there? Like there has to be some natural order to things, right? So, this is when a society goes demonic, when people restructure reality to suit the way they want it to be. And usually it's a depraved way of being, and people are, oblivious to the consequences that they themselves will suffer and other people will suffer because of it. And you can see it's getting much more prevalent now. Like this is how they're announcing a reality that, only they accept, right? And they're pushing an agenda that is only doomed to failure. And these kids who are on the receiving end, because they're not trying to change us, they've given up on my generation and people who are in their 30s and 40s, but the people who are in their 20s and the young kids especially, they're growing up and they are being infused with this morality that's being pushed on them, mostly through social media and social media personalities. And it's, and their parents, they're liberal parents, and they're completely screwed up. Like those kids they're going to be so angry when they realize how their adults failed them and society failed them. And then the system is going to collapse after just completely screwing them up, right? So this is what I mean by demonic. When you go against the divine laws and principles and rules, and you try to force your own reality on the world and you and everybody else. That sound is my son. He just sent me a message saying he's ready to finish the fence, and I'm just ready to wrap this up anyway. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paravano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.